I'm Lloyd Jackson, Senior News Analyst for News Talk 760 WJR, and I am so happy to be with both of you here for this conversation this morning. Special thank you I want to say to Chris Lambert and the entire Life Remodel team for hosting us here at the Durfee Innovation Society. And we are sitting in the pool, just so you know. Okay, all right. Mary, let me start with you. Let's kick it off. You have a bit of news when it comes to GM corporate giving, especially when it comes to the city of Detroit. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Well, Detroit is our home, and we're so excited to be making a commitment to invest $50 million by 2025 to support education, to support jobs, and to support local neighborhoods. And this is our home, and we've been here since 1911. So wow. To be able to give back and work with the mayor as we continue to, really just transform this city is something that General Motors is very committed to. So
$25 million, I know you had for the climate control, and now it's 50 million to the city of Detroit. It's a lot of money to spend. How do you spend that?
Well, I think it represents General Motors' commitments. One of the things, in addition to creating a world with zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion, we also want to really work with the communities in which we live and work. And again, Detroit is our home, and so it's very appropriate. And then from the Climate Action Fund, again, we know communities are going to play such an important role in meeting the changes that we need to make to be support climate change and to get to our goals. So both very important initiatives.
And these issues are important to GM. Tell me why they're so important to GM and how'd you came up with these initiatives?
Well, if you think about it, General Motors has been giving people freedom and mobility for over 100 years. But with that has come, crashes, impacts to the environment, and then congestion. We believe that we're uniquely positioned with our scale and our capability to really create a world that not only is safer from a crash perspective, but more importantly, from an emissions perspective, get to zero emissions. We've made a commitment to be carbon neutral by 2040 and to run our facilities on all renewables significantly before that. So this is important for the globe, and we think General Motors can play a leadership role in our industry because transportation is a big contributor to today's climate issues. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mayor, let me bring you in here. You said that talent is distributed equally in this country, but opportunity is not. So, do you think this commitment is going to help change that in the city of Detroit?
Well, it's an extraordinary commitment, $50 million over 5 years, but this isn't new for Mary Barr or General Motors. My first few months in office in 2014, when the city was in bankruptcy and people were moving out, everybody was bailing, I go to the Cody Rouge neighborhood, which most companies couldn't find with a map. And there was General Motors in the neighborhood, removing light, investing in the high school, building a new football field, and improving the schools. This has been, and it wasn't they weren't just sending money, you had hundreds of GM employees out. This has been a very personal commitment from GM to the city for a period of time. The $50 billion is an extraordinary financial commitment, but they are been a pleasure to have in our city.
Mary, you talked about before removing barriers. Can you explain a little bit more about how this removes barriers?
Well, I think especially when you focus on education, because I think I agree completely with the mayor that everyone's got talent, but do they have the opportunity to develop that talent? And so whether it's projects to solve the digital divide, whether it's making sure there's quality programs, whether there's opportunity to have good childcare so people can either work or get the education they need. These are all the areas that we're going to be working in with local not-for-profit companies or organizations to make a difference.
You talked about, Mr. Mayor, the GM's commitment to the city. What about other corporations? What would you say to them to get on board?
Well, today I'm focused on GM, and we're talking about donations, but I can't even begin to describe the impact that GM has had. When you talk about everybody has talent, we have seen for decades investment move out of central cities to suburbs farther and farther out. So the people most in need of jobs can't get to them. Not only is GM putting $2 billion into Factory Zero, but every time they identify a new supplier plant for the electric vehicles of the future, they're calling up Nicole Sherrard-Freeman and our team and saying, here's who's coming, giving us a chance to pitch them. And so the people putting on the spray bed trucks are going in on Mount Elliott, right across from the GM plant. You just saw Cadillac stamping plant, been abandoned for 40 years, is now going to be the site of Lear Seating with 300 or 400 good paying jobs supplying the GM vehicle. So we're creating opportunities in the area of the highest unemployment where we need them. And so, and of course, the factories of the future are not just putting bolts on a tire. There is some real skill needed to be operating in these advanced manufacturing. And GM's been supporting the training programs for that. So you want to talk about a commitment to providing the job opportunities as well as the education and training opportunities. It's a great partnership.
And Mary, education and employment are, we see why General Motors would invest in those spaces. But as you know, the citizens talk about neighborhood revitalization as well. Are those spaces as well that GM will be partnering in?
Absolutely. And I'm really excited because our volunteering week that we focus in this area starts on Monday. And, that's one of the things I'm so proud of. The people of General Motors, they give their time and really enjoy doing the work and partnering with the city on the most needed projects. Cody being one, a Factory Zero around that area as well. So we're very committed because, again, for the city to be strong, it's about all three. It's got to be a great community. You've got to have the opportunity to have a great education and jobs. And so we want to focus on all three areas.
Right. And Lloyd, where we're sitting right now at Durfee, you go back 5 years and this building was abandoned and in bad shape, but GM has supported Chris Lambert and the Life Remodel team. You go just drive down the streets here. The neighborhood in this area has come back in the last 4 or 5 years. And this is the way corporate partnerships and nonprofits and neighborhood groups can come together. But I got here early just to drive the blocks, and it's amazing.
It is. And I've met some of the people who are working at some of the shops in here, and they're just amazing. And it has transformed this whole community here. And it's really great to both of you, to see corporations really thinking about social change in such a positive and a strong way. How can Detroiters work along with General Motors to be in part of this work?
Well, I think one of the things that's very important is we're working very much with the city because we know if we align our initiatives, we can make more progress faster. And so I think for the communities, we'll be working with and providing programs and opportunities, and we'll communicate more as we go forward. And then for the not-for-profit organizations that have ideas, we're ready to get your best ideas and look to how we can advance the work.
Mr. Mayor, what would you like Detroiters to take away from this announcement today?
So I look at a little more than a year ago after the murder of George Floyd, and Reverend Wendell Anthony called on corporate leaders to stand up. And Mary had already sent out a letter to GM employees about GM's stance and the moral imperative of seeing people as people, and everybody was going to be valued. And so based on her letter, we got several corporate leaders stand up together, and Reverend Anthony said an interesting thing. He said, I don't want a dollar commitment. I don't want a jobs commitment. I want to hear from the hearts of the leaders. And when Mary Barra stood up that day and said, we're going to make a difference, there have been a whole series of actions that she has taken. And now this is another in a series of those that, GM does what they say they're going to do. And it's a great thing for the city of Detroit.
Hold on real quick here, Mary and Mr. Mayor, because we're going to be answering some questions from the media that are online virtually. Let's first take a look at this work from Human IT. They're one of the nonprofits that will receive grant funding as part of this commitment.
My name is Mike Cosley. I am the warehouse manager here at Human IT in Detroit. I'm responsible for managing the warehouse associates in the process of bringing in donations. Our main goal is to connect the digital divide so we can create opportunity for people that wouldn't normally have it. It's fulfilling to know that you can come to work every day and know that the work that you do here is helping others. Excellence and execution is one of the key values that we have here, so we can make sure that we're providing services and collecting donations from all of the businesses and donors. Since we've been here, we distributed over 15,000 devices and 7,000 hotspots. Biggest thing about my team is they believe in our values. They believe in those, and they know that they're actually helping the community that they actually grow up in.
That's great. We're going to take a question from a media person who is on with us virtually. Thank you for your question. This is for Mayor Duggan. How does the city work with companies like GM, for example, to determine where the focus its philanthropic efforts specifically in Detroit?
Well, we have a number of needs, and basically we sit down with companies and say, whether it's education, whether it's childcare, whether it's neighborhoods, whatever it is, what is your interest as a company or as a charitable organization? And we match up our needs. And what you find is the same thing, that when they make a donation and they see the difference, you can go back to those companies again and again. And GM's been very sophisticated in the partners that they've had. And in their case, a lot of their corporate leadership has been engaged, but you got your right hand, Mark Royce,
Right.
who sits on a number of these boards, who's been in the middle of the education and transit issues of this city. So it's not like we have to go to a corporate boardroom and explain it. Mark Royce could diagram the problems of the education system in Detroit by himself. So they come to us saying, here's where we see holes, here's where we'd like to contribute. And it's pretty easy with GM to match those up.
As a corporate citizen in General Motors, how important is it for corporations across the country to link up with the cities that they are in and have been in, and to partner and do things like you're doing here with the city of Detroit?
Well, I think it's vitally important. I mean, with all of the challenges we face today, if corporations can work in partnership with city leaders, with state leaders, we can make more progress. And that's why we don't think we have all the answers, but we know, if we know what's on the mayor's agenda and we can work with other organizations to help solve that, again, that's how we're going to advance as quickly as we can. But it's really, we feel a responsibility to the communities which we live and work. And, a lot of our manufacturing facilities across the country, they too have relationships with the local communities because we play a very important role.
How do you get the community to buy in, Mr. Mayor, when it comes to these types of philanthropic situations?
Well, it isn't that hard with General Motors. Now, when Chris Lambert came in, he will tell you the community buy-in took quite a bit of progress. He was not a known quantity. Now, of course, he's beloved. When GM comes in, though, you come in with enormous credibility, and the fact that they could have gone anywhere in the world with the electric vehicles of the future. And they're making the electric Hummer, which is just spectacular. The Silverado coming behind it, and hopefully several others, that they are building the vehicles of the future here in the city of Detroit. They've just got enormous credibility. So this makes it easy.
Well, let me say thank you to both of you for being here for this important conversation. I'm really excited to see, the change that comes with this commitment, and I know there will be big change. Thank you so much. For our media friends tuning in, stay on the line for follow-ups with our question and answers from representatives from General Motors, the city, and select nonprofits. We'll be back with you in about 5 minutes.
All right, that was Lloyd Jackson.